Summer rains. You can never predict them. Just as you can't predict the uploading and live streaming schedule of this podcast during this past summer, ladies and gentlemen. But as I joke of the erratic schedule so far, don't worry, we're back. The show is not over yet. For now. But in all seriousness, welcome back to another edition of your favorite NFL podcast, going for 100 plus episodes now. Welcome back to another edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And we are here to talk about a topic that I'm sure you've heard plenty of other takes about, but we're here to give our thoughts because, we don't give gut reactions on this show, allegedly. We like to be the thinking man. We like to be the thinking man's podcast. So we're here to fully take in all the information of the 2024 NFL schedule and then regurgitate our thoughts towards you all. I really wish the Podfather was here because he probably had the funniest takes of them all in the chat. Speaking of which, just a two-man crew today on this one. The Podfather is unfortunately unable to make it. I would normally make up a funny reason, like he's working on the Podcastle or something like that, because, ladies and gentlemen, he shows a modest living home, but Rick is actually working on a castle in secret from all of us. So I can't wait to see that one day.
He did one championship. all goes to his head.
He won a championship. He has a crown, right? I think he had like some sort of weird scepter. He's got another mascot. It's like just everything in his mind going his way. But no, unfortunately on this Happy Memorial Day, the Podfather is actually feeling a bit under the weather. If he joins us, more power to him. Of course, we appreciate it. But Rick knows like it's no pressure at all that he doesn't need to come on today's podcast. So Podfather, feel better. Hopefully everything is well for you. But the two of us are here, Iceman Jurg introing things, and of course our games master, Justin. Justin, how we doing?
Doing good, Jurg. How you doing?
Doing good. I saw, one of my close friends last week got married to the love of his life. I was the best man, and I was also you've been a best man at least one wedding you've been to, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm assuming you probably also had to do it. Me and the maid of honor, we had to go upstairs with the couple because we were the witnesses to them signing their marriage certificate, actually.
Well, see, I was related, so I was not allowed to do. I mean, I was allowed to go, but I was not a witness.
Really? So, oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't know that.
I didn't know that until it came up.
Well, you learn something new every day, ladies and gentlemen. So by chance, if someone close to you is getting married, you could see the certificate being signed, but I guess you can't put your own John Hancock or whatever. Do we still call signatures John Hancocks now?
I don't know. I don't know if the world's smart enough for that anymore.
Yeah, probably not. But learn something new every day. You technically cannot be the main witness of your of a family member signing their marriage certificate, but you could still watch it. To be fair, so there's that. Who did sign it then? Was it one of the other groomsmen? I'm guessing.
Yeah,
makes sense. All right. So that little breakdown of the intricacies of marriage aside, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for another fun episode today. Not sure how long we're really going to go on this one. We're just going to kind of take the lazy river of this one and see where it goes. But before we get to the meat of the matter, meat and potatoes, as my guy Bar has always said. Yeah, see, I didn't think to. Maybe next time Rick's out, we could bring Bars back on the show. I know he'd be down for certain if it works with his schedule. Probably. I think it was too last minute for today, so it probably wouldn't have worked out. But everyone knows Bars is always welcome back on, of course. But before we get to the meat and potatoes and talk the schedule, give our thoughts, we are going to talk about the primetime slate, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday, quick run through of the Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night game schedules. We're going to talk about the international games. And Justin, as incredible as he is, because I was not able to find a pre-show, he found the Thanksgiving and Christmas-based games. So we're also going to be going over those really quick. And will we have happy holidays and good football for food? Or are we going to be needing to pop the Pepto-Bismol at some point during Thanksgiving on football? So that being said, before we get to that, fun football chaos is the tagline. Justin, we have some fun playing for the people on this one early.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to play a little Name That Player.
We have not done just one person doing this yet, so I'm very, very interested to see here.
Jared, you got this. I'm sure you do. We'll start out with the hardest of the three clues here. And this college defensive player at a University of Michigan has the same birthday as me.
Ooh.
Really throw your friendship into
right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Michigan defensive player.
Yes.
So the way that you said college defense player. So you're talking about a current Michigan player, or he is in the NFL?
Everyone that I'm going to do for this game is going to be an NFL player, has played in or is still playing in the NFL.
In the NFL. All right, I just want to make sure. Okay.
This is not a college football podcast.
What would a college football podcast with us running it look like?
I don't know. Probably way less information because I do not know much about college football until they're getting drafted. I don't really do a lot of research. I mean, I watch it, but
I mean, I will say really quick though, I think the funny thing that would be the case with a college football podcast would be the pure comedy of we wouldn't even talk like this would be the gimmick of that. We wouldn't talk D1 football. It would be Rick leading us for D2 and D3.
Oh God, yeah, this would be a very in-depth podcast, and one of us would be the most informed by a lot.
And it's not even us. All right. So I know your birthday. It's August 9th.
That's very impressive.
Oh, let's go. So I'm trying to think Michigan football players that played defense that were born August 9th.
This is an abstract one.
Indeed. But I like it. It's very creative.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I didn't know which player was born this day until I decided this is who I was doing.
There we go. All right. First guess I'm going to go slightly modern-ish just to help me on early. I'm going to throw out an interesting one here. I think he should still be on the Bengals. Or maybe he was not drafted by them in my fantasy from one of our mock drafts. I drafted him. I think, I apologize in advance if I get his name wrong. Dax Hill, I think was his name. Hill on the Bengals, Michigan defensive back.
I believe so. I know who you're talking about.
Yes. So that'll be my first guess, just to get a guess on the board.
That is a fantastic guess. It is not the player who we are talking about, though.
Should we search him up real quick just to see when his birthday was?
I'm pretty sure you got it right. Dax Hill.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh no! I'm just talking about the birthday. See how close I was in terms of birthday.
Oh, September 29th.
Okay.
Pretty close.
Not terrible.
He did play at Michigan, the cornerback.
Yes. Boom. All right. So that's a first guess.
Yes. All right. This top 15 pick had 18 and a half career sacks over 4 years at Michigan.
Okay. 18 and wait, hold on. 4 years at Michigan. 18 and a half sacks over 4 years. Is it him? No, that feels so obvious. See, this is the problem. Like, this is why I love having Rick here consistently because he is so much better. And I feel like I start to get better with the older names with him alongside me. I struggle with old names. So if this is a Michigan guy who played defense in like even the late 2000s, I'm sorry. It's the memory fog is real. It's because it's a struggle sometimes. Like once these guys hit the pros, you just kind of forget where they played. Okay, 18 and a half sacks. I'm gonna say because he's the first Michigan defensive lineman that came to mind. Kwity Paye. Like I don't know if that was his sack production over 4 years. I don't even know if he played a full 4 years is the problem. But Kwity Paye will be my guess.
Kwity Paye. That is also a very good guess. Unfortunately, it is not who we were talking about. And I will say I kind of went at you a little bit. I gave you a little bit of a trick because I said top 15. But really, we'll go with the next hint. Top 5 draft pick out of Michigan after leading his team with the single sack record at 14 sacks, most in Michigan history. He already has more career sacks in the NFL after 2 seasons.
Okay. That makes it a lot easier because now I know who you're talking about. It's our boy. You drafted him in our mock draft. It was a pretty good pick still to this day. Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, 21 career sacks, 4 interceptions for the Detroit Lions. He is the player in this game. 103 total tackles as well. He's been quite the draft pick for Michigan. I mean for Detroit.
Well, for both.
Detroit, Michigan. Same place. I got it right.
Technically, you're not wrong at all. No, you know what I found? Honestly, like it kind of is well because not whatever. I think it's we've seen the cover art. The next NCAA football game that's going to be coming out later this year. If assuming there's things that are similar to the last few installments in the title, compared to what this one is. Obviously, there's going to be significant changes because I would hope there's changes considering it's been a decade since the last game came out, or a little more than that, but you know what I mean.
Same graphics, same gameplay. You know,
with EA, it's not a surprise. But I remember this because NCAA is 12, 13, and 14. You know, the more guys that you get at the end of the year that technically get drafted, you know, by who knows what happens to them. You can always make up past. Creative YouTubers have done dynasties and then made fun storylines with their guys. I give props to all those YouTubers that make it work. But the more guys you get drafted, especially like higher draft picks, right? They increase the prestige. One of the things that makes you more intriguing to recruits, technically, of like, oh, like pro, like I forget what the exact wording was, but like pro level readiness or something like that. Like basically means like you can help turn guys into NFL caliber players, which is pretty cool. And hopefully they fix how that was, because one of the bugs that I remember, I shouldn't call it a bug, I think it's just a programming thing of, if you had a quarterback and let's say he became a 90, like you developed him into a 97 overall, threw 4,000 passing yards like 3 seasons in a row, 30 plus touchdowns every single year. If he wasn't tall enough, he wasn't projected to be a first or a second round pick, because in the game it valued height of a quarterback a lot when it came to that happening. Like it's one of those quality of life things. Maybe that Podfathers are not here. Maybe we could just do a whole episode like we did with the Netflix Avatar where we talk about NCAA and things that we hope to see. But that's one of those things that like little quality of life stuff makes a difference in all content now. We've deviated a lot from that in society. I think it's very easy to say that. But quality of life stuff like that still matters. And I hope whoever the team that has gotten the chance to work on this has had ample time, of course, because I know part of it is programming, how much time the programming team gets. I do understand that. But I hope that they were given enough time and really looked into what was the last game like. What was the last game? What were the hits that were good with the last game? What were some of like the little things that can be fixed? Because, dude, I'm telling you, like some of the things that make you want to replay value is that quality of life stuff that could bring you back. It really is. Because like a lot of people, I rarely get my video games now, right? Like I'm probably going to take a shot with the new NCAA game. It might be the last game I buy for my PS4. So it's like, if I'm going to buy it, I want to make sure that like it's worth the money. Right. So it's one of those things that hopefully they fix. But back to the thing, outstanding, name that player, got one. Yay. And there we go. Just it's funny because like you said, you didn't know you guys matched birthdays. Imagine if you had known when we did the mock, it would have been a lock. You guys were like, come on, guys. You think I'm going to deny a birthday twin the first overall pick? Which, I mean, realistically, maybe you should have gone with the first overall pick. So that pick is still doing well. So far, the Sports Agents of Chaos mock drafts, we've kind of shown that the guys who should have gone first overall, to us, should have gone first overall, for lack of a better term, because you picked Aiden, I picked Stroud, and Rick picked in the first overall. Oh, he picked Caleb Williams, so that was kind of a slam dunk. So we'll see if that one hits as well, because that was also the first time ever that our mock number 1 pick matched the NFL number 1 pick.
No, Aiden Hutchinson. It was that wasn't that year.
No. But I'm saying like all 3 of our mocks that we did. I'm saying Rick's pick was the only one that matched. Ours was differentiated. We picked guys at number 1 who ended up going.
Oh, because he picked Caleb this year.
Yeah, he picked Caleb. we know that the Podfather loves his chaos, but I don't think he was chaotic enough to not pick.
Yeah. It was the right pick. He couldn't even argue that it wasn't the right pick.
He really could. I think only if he had still been a Bears fan, technically, he probably would have trolled it. But that would have been the case. Oh, good Lord. Miss you, Podfather. But outstanding game right there, Justin, on Name That Player. We'll be back with plenty more in the next edition. Hopefully all 3 of us. That is the goal every single episode. Does it get accomplished? Find out next time. To see. But one thing you won't need to find out and wait for next time is 2024 NFL schedule talk. Yes, we're going to be discussing the highlights of the 2024 NFL schedule release that occurred a couple weeks ago. So, like I said, there's been a bit of time. We've gotten to really sink in, absorb what the game lineup is. And it's going to be fun to just quickly run through the schedule. What teams got too many primetime games and what teams did not get any primetime games, which, spoiler, one team did not get any primetime games this season. I'll just say it right off the bat. Justin, how our Carolina Panthers from last year, our NFC South division pick, are on. the only team in the league this year to have zero primetime games.
Well, it's going to be as the fire department lets us know that there's a fire somewhere in town. It's going to be interesting to see how that team develops. I mean, obviously they don't deserve any primetime games, and realistically, there's not a lot of hope for them to be much better than they were last year. But I mean, I guess they seemingly got their guy in terms of the head coach, and he's a guy that is known for kind of putting the quarterback game plan in motion and putting his quarterback in the best spot. So we're going to see. I like the draft picks that they made. I like the moves that they made, but we all know this team is more than a year out. And if they can string some exciting wins together, you never know. Maybe they get flexed into something, or maybe we're talking more about them next year.
Yeah, for certain. Carolina Panthers watch 2025.
Yeah.
Then when we get to 2025, it'll be 2026 is in terms of watch out. So Carolina, Bryce Young, unfortunately, no primetime games this year, but hey, hopefully for them, the right leader is there to help that team accomplish things, do the job, and get to this spot. In over a year from now, which hopefully we'll be talking about this stuff more as well in a year from now, of course. But let's settle for 2024 for the time being, and let's start with the primetime games, Justin. We know that it's really the primetime football that people want us to talk about in regards to the games and everything of such. So let's start with Thursday night football and the scheduled games for that. So as everybody knows, the Thursday night football games are not fan favorites of the players. The players don't like Thursday night football, but they have to play as such because really it's short weeks just kill teams. It'll be very interesting to see how many situations occur here where teams are going to get unlucky. We might end up seeing it once or twice here where a team just gets unlucky and they got to go from Sunday to Thursday. It's going to happen multiple times throughout the season, and those poor guys. I really actually do feel for them because it just absolutely sucks. You have to play 2 football games like that in a week. Just not fun on the human body, to say the very least. So the Thursday night games, of course, late starts. Amazon Prime Video is where they live. And Justin and I will answer a question I thought of about that here once we go through the slate really quick. But Justin, let's run through this. So I'll go in order from week 2. This is the first Thursday night game, from week 2 all the way up to week 17 on the schedule. Because let me just confirm this really quick. I don't think... No Thursday night from what I'm seeing has multiple games. So this will just be in linear order in that regard. So let's go through it. All right, week 2, Bills at Dolphins. Strong one to start. Potential AFC early showdown right there between AFC East teams that we believe will be challenging for a playoff spot and the AFC East crown that season. The week after that, Patriots at Jets. Okay, the Jets are in there. Aaron Rodgers, hopefully he's back. He's going to be already in a primetime game. That's going to be the second primetime game for the Jets in as many weeks. And they'll follow it up with the third one because it'll be Cowboys at Jets in the week following that. Buccaneers at Falcons in week 5. Interesting, depending on what the state of the NFC South is at that point. Could see those teams in maybe, if we're lucky, both 3-1 at that point. I don't think you're for the week 4 bye week off of memory, but maybe they're both at 3-1. Maybe that's a potential NFC South crown shifter. You never know. 49ers at Seahawks. Can't go wrong with division matchups, especially between teams like that just tend to be competitive with one another in these games. Broncos at Saints after that. Okay. Bit of a dud. That's the first. I would say, for Thursday Night Football, that's kind of like the first dud matchup I would consider it, just in terms of quality compared to contemporaries, compared to Niners and Cowboys and Jets.
Maybe, I don't know. That's a game that with 2 really strong defenses and 2 what we think is going to be up and coming offenses. We'll see what Derek Carr is there. But I'm interested to see the way that offense is going to develop in Denver. But we can keep continuing to go through the list.
Yep. After that, it'll be Vikings at Rams. So you get a young J.J. McCarthy. That'll be, again, I don't know Vikings by week off the top of my head. So that'll be his 7th, maybe 8th career start at that point, depending on the situation there. Going up against the Rams team, which Aaron Donald retired. They had a couple draft picks from last year, which in previous episode, be sure to go back and check the shows that we did in the past. Of course, we did an episode just rating draft picks from last year, and both the Podfather and I picked Rams draft picks late. I think they were both one third, 1 4th round draft pick on that Rams team from last year that they drafted. They drafted another defender within the first couple of picks this time as well. That's a very young Rams defense right there. So a young quarterback and be about the halfway point of his rookie season against a team that playoff positioning potentially. They were a playoff team this past year. Of course, they're looking to get back. as well. After that, CJ Stroud versus Aaron Rodgers on Halloween. What a primetime game right there. That should be a very interesting matchup, to say the very least. You guys have 3 Thursday night games. Jeez, I didn't realize that when I was going over this before.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. We'll get your thoughts on all, like, not just Thursday night, but all the Jets primetime matchups, Justin, maybe at the end. But after Texans and Jets, you have Bengals at Ravens. Again, AFC North team that won the division 2 years ago versus team that won the division last year. After that is Commanders at Eagles. We commented about this when we do the pick challenge last year. Hashtag SAOC pick challenge, ladies and gentlemen. These two teams oddly play very close games against one another, like 7 of the last 8 meetings or so. And Washington's come away with at least one upset in that time as well, I believe. So it's that's honestly not bad for a Thursday night.
They won the most recent one, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe so. So
that year, they beat the Eagles. It was like shocking.
Yeah. So, and that I think was one of the games that really highlighted the Eagles' issues as we saw down the stretch develop. So Commanders and Eagles, that's a good one right there. Steelers, Browns the next week. Oh, again, you can't necessarily go wrong with division rivalries when it's a division that saw both these teams reach the postseason last year. So you have that. Raiders at Chiefs, which is technically going to be a Friday game, happening at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So Thursday night football on Friday, and it's not at night. It says 3 p.m. What's happening? This is where the Podfather would be like, how? But there's that one. And then the last games on this slate, Packers at Lions. Massive game right there for the balance of power in the NFC North, we have to believe at that point. Rams at 49ers, again, amazing division game. Browns at Bengals, AFC North potential there. And then Seahawks at Bears. Caleb Williams against Geno Smith. Hopefully the Bears franchise quarterback against the future Ring of Honor guy for another franchise. Okay, I could see someone go there. And two teams that maybe, if everything breaks right for both squads, maybe there's some wild card stakes involved in that game, maybe for both teams if they're lucky. So you never know. I actually don't think that's too bad. So Justin, for a slate that, we know for years it's been memed about, like you get caught in the Thursday night game, that's basically the equivalent of hell on earth in terms of watching football. Like, let's be real, for years there were bad football games on there, both in terms of quality and just sometimes how the games turned out. And let's be real here. On paper, these matchups are great. One of them is probably going to end up being, okay, it didn't live up to the expectations. Like one of these games could become a blowout, et cetera. You know what I mean? But on paper, at least, and I want to give some credit. I think they tried to do their best last year too. The NFL, at least on paper, which is all we could base this off of right now, is making Thursday night football like important to watch. And of course, I feel part of that has to do with Amazon having the rights to it. Of course, they're not paying for Jaguars Titans Thursday night football. They want 49ers Seahawks and Cowboys Jets and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's my first comment when I look at the slate. What about you?
As much as I love some of these games, and I don't really love the fact that the Jets are playing 3 of them, but it is what it is. The issue isn't necessarily with the matchups for Thursday night football. It's generally these guys don't want to play it. And I get it. I understand why you wouldn't want to play 13, on a Thursday night on short rest or long rest or whatever the rest is. That it's a weird night for football. And I'm not complaining. I watch every single one. I love it. I am all for more football. But the issue isn't with the games. It's not with the matchups. And they really have stepped it up this year because there's a lot of divisional games. There's a lot of exciting matchups. Cowboys at Jets. Assuming the Jets are healthy, could be a great rematch from a blowout last year. Bucks, Falcons are 2 teams that are coming off decent seasons that, they could really get some stuff going. People want to see the Texans. Again, hopefully the Jets are healthy for that one, but it's hard to know. Hopefully Joe Burrow is healthy for a Bengals at Ravens game. That's exciting. Like, these are exciting games. But the question is Thursday just not a night for football? That's really what it comes down to.
Right. And I don't blame you for asking that question either, because I think that's because
you mentioned the real question.
Yeah, yes, I do. I'll ask that question here in a moment. But I will say, because I also I'm considering asking a similar type question once we get to another slate of games here a bit later on. But no, I think you bring up the perfect point that at the end of the day, some of this is just what is the motivation of the guys playing? And I know that might sound broad because it's obviously these guys they're playing for playoff positioning. They're playing for, whether it's as a team playing for playoff positioning, whether it's guys individually, are they playing for a contract? Is it a contract year? Are they playing for their NFL career? Like, obviously, I will never disrespect the player by saying that they're not motivated to try in a game, just generally going in. These guys all have their own motivations. I'm never going to say that none of these guys on purpose didn't walk into a game motivated. When you talk about the motivation there, it's, if you just had a Sunday game, even if it's one of the 1 p.m. games, you just had a game on Sunday, now you got to have a game on Thursday, and there's a chance you probably have a game the next Sunday too. 3 football games in a 15-day span. Hot take, Justin, I don't think that's technically healthy for the human body. So it's just one of these things. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like, each season, multiple teams are going to have to go through this. It's not unique. And people are going to be like, oh, they're millionaires, this, that, and the third. Like, it's, at the end of the day, this is tough. And a stretch like this is one of those things that could really test a team's mental strength, mental fortitude, their togetherness of, like, can they get past that stretch of their schedule where they have to struggle with this stuff? It's almost like, maybe, I don't know about the situation, for the third game you guys have when it comes to Texans Jets, but at least the first two, at least there's some rhythm that, like, there's like, okay, back-to-back Thursday night games. It's not, like, in theory ideal, but it's the same night both times. It's not a Sunday into a Thursday, right? So it's one of those things where, in that specific scenario, you can't be too mad about that. Well, you probably could be, but I don't think you could be. So that being said, the question, Justin, and I can't wait whenever he does return to the show, because, again, shout out Podfather, feel better, bud. Which of these games, if any, Justin, do you think will finally get the Podfather to properly watch Thursday Night Football?
Properly watch. So, like, him tuning in just because the Jets are playing doesn't really count.
No, I'll count that, actually. When I say properly watch, I mean attentive. Not he put it on and he's doing something in the background, like something else, like on his laptop.
Because here's the thing. That Patriots at Jets game has the potential to be a major game in Jets history.
Mm-hmm.
If Aaron Rodgers is healthy in week 3 and they're at home and Bill Belichick is no longer a Patriots coach and the Jets are still on, which they will be, I think it's the first time they play them that season, on their 7-year losing streak to the Patriots, we have a chance to see something that we have not seen in a long time. And it pains me that Bill Belichick is not there anymore.
Right.
To experience what could be a Jets win for the first time in, again, 9 years, 8 years. I don't know how long it was. The last win that I definitely remember was that playoff win in, like, 2011.
That's a long time. There had to be at least one
since then. But it's been a while.
I get what you mean.
So I would assume he's going to tune into that.
Yeah. And even, like, I feel like as we learned before last season, Rick will definitely be one to critique Dak Prescott.
As much as we have the gimmick, and I don't want to break kayfabe here, he is a Jets fan. Like, he grew up a Jets fan.
Yes, of course.
That's probably why he was so quick to denounce his fandom. He is a real fan, and if he comes on the show right now, I won't admit it, but not to his face. But he is technically a real Jets fan, so I assume that's going to be the real one. But his hatred from Amazon might be more than his fandom for football, so we'll see.
It will be interesting, but no, to me, there's 3 games here that he should definitively, I think, watch, because I think it would be his interest. So a non-Jets game, I think that might get him to watch, because I think Rick would watch this just for the hilarity of the situation to play out. I think Broncos Saints, because we know Rick loves himself a game
chaos for sure.
100%. That is the definition of a sports agents of chaos game right there. Sean Payton against the Saints. Because I don't think we had Broncos Saints last year, if I'm not mistaken. So first time that he'd be facing the Saints since he became Broncos head coach.
I believe you're correct.
And even if they did face last year, this one is in New Orleans, so it means a lot more. And it's Bo Nix against former Raiders QB Derek Carr.
Bo Nix, we don't know yet.
True, but
Wilson, man,
maybe
Terrence did him.
Could be. Maybe Drew Brees comes out of retirement because
I don't think so. Word is he can't lift his arm.
Yeah. I wonder who helped. I wonder who helped lead to that. But in regards to that, it that feels like the kind of game, because, man, if the Broncos lose that game, we're going to gloat about it. If the Saints lose that game, we're going to gloat about it. So it's just like the perfect game for us, realistically. And I think Rick would love to watch just like the chaos that ensues in that game, to say the very least.
Well, if we're talking non-Jets games, Week 10 is an appetizing game, man. I mean, the Bengals coming off a bad season, revamped.
Yep.
Anakin Skywalker looking Joe Burrow.
The hair.
The bad guy saying, "I'm done with this nice guy bullshit." You want to tell me that I'm overrated. You want to talk about injuries. He's going to be on a revenge tour this year for sure. That's a game. And obviously, the Ravens still are the Ravens. Derrick Henry's there now. Maybe we actually have a healthy running game, which is something that we've been begging for in this almost as much as we've been begging for them to go out and get receivers. So this is going to be an interesting season for both of those teams. And if both of those teams can be as good as we think they are, that is a very appetizing game.
100%. And, if he was still a Bears fan, which there was a chance many weeks back, ladies and gentlemen, go back to see the episode when the wheel of chaos decided, you know what? You're a Jets fan again.
Screw your gimmick.
The wheel really killed it. But if he was still
much chaos.
Yeah, too much. The wheel told us, calm down. but basically, if he was still a Bears fan, that Seahawks-Bears game, I think he would definitely have been watching that one, because that would have been the game, and he would have definitely held that one above me. Be like, oh, Jared, get nervous for your boy Geno Smith. So it'll be something to watch, to say the very least. So that is the Thursday Night Football slate done real quick. Great on paper. I think we're probably going to say some more stuff for the Sunday and Monday night ones. But great games on paper. Hope they live up to it. Hopefully the players are able to maybe find an extra gear, and we get a pretty good game, to say the least.
Question.
Yes.
Because they're technically Thursday games.
Yes.
Should we do Thanksgiving now, or should we go to the next one?
You know what? Yes, actually. Let's do that. So we'll do part of that. It's kind of weird because then we're going to save the Christmas.
Nice little audible.
No, I like it. So let me just pull it, because I know you sent it to me. So let me pull it up here. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Thursday, Thanksgiving, we got 3 games for you, hot and ready on that one, of course, as is the yearly tradition, and as is the other yearly traditions. The Cowboys must play, and the Lions must play. And apparently the Dolphins. So here, Cowboys and Lions and Dolphins.
Oh my!
Question mark. Well, the Bears are there too. So the first game of that, the 4:30 p.m. No, excuse me. Misread the order here. The first game of that, the 12:30 p.m. game on CBS. It'll be the Chicago Bears going against the Detroit Lions. So Caleb Williams and crew will be going into Detroit to take on the Lions. This is going to be a very interesting one, Justin, because to me, and I remember because I picked that game last year, the Lions disappointed. They laid an egg on Thanksgiving, to say the very least. I think it was against the Packers as well. So this is a Detroit team where, even though the last 2 years, last year making the playoffs and winning, and even the year before that, they were still a good deal. They were better than the year before. They were becoming a disrespectful team that beat them saw in 2023. There's still some struggles. I don't know what it is. Is it jitters? What the situation is on Thanksgiving? The Lions have struggled on the holiday as of late. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
As of late? Everything over the last 25 years for the Lions has been a struggle. It's just an instant thing they're like, okay, we're a good team now. That is anyone who's not been watching football for more than 2 years, you need to know the Lions are historically bad. This is their first playoff win at home in 50 years.
Yeah. Was it pre or post JFK? Was the question.
So I think the thing was, going into that game, that JFK had seen he'd been alive for every Lions home playoff win.
Oh man, freaking Detroit. Oh Lord, I know the joke doesn't make sense because it's a different state, but I bet Detroit wished how many playoff games they had like someone in the grassy knolls to just, aim at the dang quarterbacks of the opposing teams over the years.
I think that's why Barry Sanders retired.
Oh, you think he was scared of that?
Okay, no, in all seriousness.
Yes, but Detroit, struggled for a very long time, are good now, can make a threat in the postseason this year, of course, with how well and close they played last year with the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC title game. Will be interesting to say. And I know it sounds funny to say that this random regular season game would matter a lot, but I actually think it would. I think it would be like a feather in the cap for Detroit for this season. Like, if they can win on Thanksgiving and however they are heading into that game, right? If they're doing good, if they're living up to our expectations, they keep the momentum going and make the fans happy after a Thanksgiving game for the first time in God knows how long, and just carry it into the second half. Because, dude, I gotta say, I don't even think underrated. Could you imagine the playoffs running through Detroit? How crazy the fans would be if they get the NFC playoffs running through Detroit?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the Lions are done for that this year. And a win on Thanksgiving Day, 100%.
They gotta be.
Yeah, of course. I know every team is obviously like going in, but just like specifically for them, considering how last season ended, super close game in San Francisco. Like you got to believe that the energy would 100% be there for this team going into it. So that is the first game. The second game on slate that day is the Dallas Cowboys with their yearly traditional game. Is the Giants at Cowboys for this one? I mean, I know it's super early, but does one of us want to lock in that game for a 4-point pick right now? Or I know we don't have the lines here.
Depends who's going to have the opportunity,
But no, man, look, New York made moves. They improved their roster, of course, but is it going to be enough on that Thanksgiving Day? I don't know. It's going to be, obviously, again, we're just basing it off of paper right now. We have to wait to see how the beginning of the season opens up and what can happen. Of course, the Cowboys are, relatively due at least once or twice a season for a loss that shouldn't have happened. Cardinals. But it should be interesting. But if you're a Dallas fan, you're doing your preseason, preseason, regular season predictions. God, that's an amazing sentence. Just rolls right off the tongue. But just if you're a Cowboys fan, hypothetically, let's make you a Cowboys fan just for the 50 seconds here. You should expect to win this game against the Giants in Dallas.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of questions about Dallas also. Let's not make any mistakes. It's not like Dallas is a sure thing to repeat now this year. I mean, They were a good team last year. I like Dak Prescott, but what else really is there? I mean, their defense was up and down last year. I mean, they had some great moments. They had some really bad moments too. They're also very injured. They have to pay Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
They have to. There's a lot going on in that division right now. So they should beat the Giants. The Giants are going through just as much, if not more, turmoil. But I'm not really picking any team as a sure thing at this point.
That's fair. I'm just saying. I know Cowboys fans themselves right now are thinking oh, we got to win this.
And probably a lot of Cowboys fans very upset with that.
Probably. But when has this show ever cared about upsetting certain sects of people? We've upset countries in the past. Well, not we specifically. A certain other individual has. Well, I've probably upset a European country in some way here on the show. And then finally the last game of it. So that game was on Fox, by the way. So the game on NBC to finish off the night on Thanksgiving. Dolphins at Packers. This game, I think, is just there to really give us a potential offensive explosion. If the Packers have, and I will say this, I still have some questions about Jordan Love. I need to see it for a second season play out. I think it's fair to say that. But if the Packers have something going here, if they really do, and they're, going as a top, I'll say 12. Not even say they can't go higher than that, just I want to put a baseline on. If they could be a top 12 offense going into this game against a Dolphins team that we know is just offensively talented, this could be an interesting game, to say the very least. If it's not too cold for the Dolphins, of course, because we know they struggle when it gets a bit chilly.
Yes, they do.
But hopefully for both sides, it won't be just negative wind chill at that point. Because good lord. But what do you think about Dolphins Packers, Justin, to finish off Thanksgiving football that night?
That's another one that's intriguing to me, because those are two teams that really have a lot to prove. They're two teams that really are coming off a majorly impactful season in terms of potential.
Mm-hmm.
And both teams are in a spot now where do you go from here? Do you make that next move to make yourself a real contender? Or do you fall into old habits and you are stuck along the pretenders for another few years? That's an interesting matchup. And it's funny too, because it's very different for each, the way they went about it. I mean, one is clearly a much stronger defensive team. They got rid of some offensive weapons last year. They have a young quarterback who's still a little bit unproven, but he has had a really good season last year. And the other one is a quarterback that's proven when he's on the field, he's pretty good. He's got excellent receivers. Their defense needs a little bit of work. And that's where their injuries were. So it really is like a major difference in the way they got to the same point.
Yeah.
It is an intriguing night game for sure.
Yes. So will be very, very interesting, to say the very least, in that one. I hope for an offensive explosion. I hope Tua and Jordan Love just both go off for like 300-plus yards in that one, and we just really get to see everything being fun again. Running game could be interesting as well. You got Raheem Mostert, noted Florida Panthers fan, against Josh Jacobs, the newly signed, freshly paid running back for the Green Bay Packers. Maybe if the game is a bit chilly, maybe you see some great running performances there too. So it should be very interesting to see two teams. Like you said, I feel like, again, I don't want to put it all on one game. I think obviously it's the season as a whole that'll decide it. But it's one of these situations where you have a team that's a very respectable team, right, for both these clubs, making it as wildcard teams last year. One had a better playoff run than the other, to say the very least. I'll let the people figure out which one that was. You want, like you said, as both teams take that next step, and if that doesn't happen this season, there's a lot of internal questions on both sides. Because, fun fact, both quarterbacks are due to be paid here in relative short order, and one of them has to be, you believe. One you would assume would get paid before the other. Which one will it be? Which one will it be? This is going to be a very interesting question, to say the very least. So a lot of on the field reasons and also off the field reasons that game leading into it and after, post that Thanksgiving matchup will be something to keep an eye out on at that point. So that was the Thanksgiving slate. That's one holiday finished. We'll get to the other one in a bit. Maybe we'll do it after the Sunday night games, actually, just for the fun of it, even though the Christmas games happen on Wednesday. NFL football's just weird this year. So let's go to the Sunday night games, Justin. The slate that it is. Technically 2 Sunday night football games in week 1. One of them is technically branded as Sunday night football. The people understand it. So in week 1, we'll have Ravens at Chiefs being the season opening game, as it notes in the article that we have. It says season opener right there in parentheses, not big bold letters. They should put it in big bold letters. Here I am critiquing articles. It's probably, Justin, real quick, this article that I sent you, over under 15%, you think AI created this?
Ooh. They use it a lot now.
Right? Right? I hope it's under. I hope us humans can just stop.
I don't think it is.
Damn it. All right. No, that's something. All right. But on to the actual slate itself. Ravens at Chiefs is the season opener for this AFC Championship game rematch. Justin, right now, I don't know if people are able to. If you are able to bet in your various state, I'm not one to really give betting advice, but whatever the rushing amount is right now, not yardage, just carries for the Ravens. Look what that number is right now, and you would hope it hits the over compared to what they did in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. So we'll see how that matchup ultimately plays out. So you have that Rams at Lions. That is a wild card round rematch between those two teams in Detroit once again. As the game on September 8th. And then after that gets interesting. Bears at Texans, so the number 1 overall pick in this past draft versus the number 2 overall pick and reigning, defending Rookie of the Year winner in C.J. Stroud. So Bears at Texans should be a fun matchup there. Chiefs at Falcons. That could go one of two ways. Either the Falcons are going to pull off a wild upset to make us believe in them, or the Chiefs are going to win by like 30. So it goes one way or the other. Then you have Bills at Ravens, tried and true matchup right there. Those two teams are always competing against one another for who is going to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason next. Both of them did last year, though, so they each won that one. Cowboys at – I just really got Buffalo Bills and Ravens fans angry right there. But it's true, so prove me wrong. Cowboys at Steelers after that, 2 OG franchises, a lot of history, a lot of Super Bowls there. This would be a game if football did like an old timers day, which they can't do that because football, you can't really do an old timers day with that compared to how they do with baseball. But if football had like an old timers day, Cowboys Steelers would feel like the game to have like that special event on, at least acknowledging the old timers, because 2 very legacy rich organizations right there playing off in the first Sunday night football game of October. And then the week after that, you have Bengals at Giants. See what that's like. Jets at Steelers. I don't know if people have caught on yet. The Jets have a lot of primetime games this season, guys. Cowboys at 49ers is going to be the final Sunday night football game of the month of October. You have Jaguars at Eagles the next week, which is a very interesting matchup to say the very least. You have Trevor Lawrence versus Jalen Hurts right there. A Eagles team that is hoping to bounce back from what was a poor finish to last year versus the Jaguars team that is also hoping to bounce back from what was a poor finish last year. I that's a Spider-Man meme. But that matchup aside, you have Lions at Texans. Should be very intriguing there, to say the very least. Colts at Jets. There's that. Maybe if Anthony Richardson is healthy, you have AR versus AR in terms of initials right there with starting quarterbacks. So you have that fun right there. It's going to be an alliteration fest for fans for that game. Eagles at Rams is the week after. Kind of Eagles at Rams, I think, was like the flashpoint for the Eagles early last season. That was the game that I think a lot of people were like, is this Eagles team as good as we think they are? It turns out the answer was, So there's that. Packers at Dolphins to finish. Oh, well, we already went to that. Wait, Packers.
Technically, Thanksgiving.
Technically, yeah. It's weird. Okay, this article I'm just now seeing, it's kind of weird with how they're deciding stuff is.
Well, no, it's technically the Sunday Night Football is the host of the Thanksgiving night game,
because it's at NBC.
Look, the Black Friday game is technically a Thursday Night Football game.
Fantastic. You have the 49ers at Bills. After that, Chargers at Chiefs, Packers at Seahawks, Buccaneers at Cowboys, Dolphins at Browns. Comments to be withheld. And then TBD versus TBD for Week 18, because as we know, just like they've done it the last couple of years, which this is one of the good things, keep going NFL, deciding on the Week 18 schedule going into the last week itself. I can't wait for that episode when we try to break it down as we've done in the past. That was actually one of my favorite episodes that we've done in previous seasons. So I hope we get to do that once again, of trying to predict the order of everything from the Saturday night games, because there are the 2 games on Saturday, and then the slate of games on Sunday. So that being said, Justin, first takeaways when you look at that Sunday night football slate that on this article apparently included a Thanksgiving game in there. Whoever wrote this, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's got some good games. It's hard to compare to Thursday. I feel like Thursday really, really has the best. I mean, so far from what I've looked at, they have the better selection of games. But I mean, there's some interesting ones there. I mean, again, a lot of prime time for the Jets. I'm not complaining, but it does seem like a lot. Like some of the games, I don't understand necessarily why they were Sunday nights. Like Rams at Lions, I get. Bears at Texans, I don't. Chiefs at Falcons. I mean, it's possible that maybe the Bears are a much better team this year. It's possible that the Falcons are a much better team this year. I don't like Bengals at Giants doesn't really rev my engine. You know what I mean? Jags at Eagles, to me, in my mind, that's a blowout game. You know, I don't really think that even if the Jaguars are improved this year, I don't see them competing with the Eagles. It gets a little better as it goes down, but I don't know. Maybe I'm biased, but I'm a little partial towards Thursday.
Interesting. I think the way, as I was going down the list, I think Thursday night, what they did with it is that they put the games where the meaning is definitive on both teams because of all the division matchups we talked about, right? A lot of division matchups highlighting the Thursday night slate. Whereas I think with Sunday night, I think part of it is they're really in some of these matchups, including some of the ones you highlighted, they're really leaning on the team that is kind of like the headliner, you could say, being healthy and continuing to be the headliner throughout the season. Like you kind of mentioned it, like the Falcons and the Bears, maybe they end up this season a little bit better than what we think they do, but these are both early season games where the promise and potential is still there. And both those teams are going up against, in the case of the Texans, Bears, they're going up against the Texans. So you have CJ Stroud, you have a team that was super aggressive in the offseason, a team that many people are anointing now as one of the next up-and-comers, if not the premier up-and-comer in the AFC, and a team that a lot of people would love to see match up with the Chiefs, I think, in the postseason, just for that young quarterback and that hungry team against the defending, now 2-time defending Super Bowl champion, back-to-back Kansas City Chiefs, who, of course, are going for a three-peat this year. Whereas, of course, I don't need to explain it. Falcons and Chiefs, we know the headline act is Mahomes right there. Of course, you do have games where it's relatively even. Bills and Ravens, of course, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. We've seen plenty of those games. Ravens at Chiefs to start off the season, of course, I think that was probably a given. And even Lions at Texans, like an would it be intra? Yeah, I think intra would be the right one. Intra-conference matchup between those two teams that were great talented last year, made solid playoff runs. Like, I think the Thursday night game, I don't want to. Need is not the right word, but it's only the word I'm going to use just because English is failing me at the moment. But I feel like Thursday night kind of needed the idea of the division matchups to make it more. Whereas they're really banking on like a team being there to watch the main club, and if the other team in some of these matchups just so happens to be good, cool. I think that's what the hope. Like even I know. Look, I love Justin Herbert. And I also think the coach hiring they made is part of the reason. But Chargers at Chiefs at week 14. What is this season going to be for the Chargers? You know what I mean? Like, what's the ceiling for this team? Second in the division? And that's not saying a lot because two of the teams in that division, I don't know how good we're projecting them to be, right? So it's a situation to say the very least on some of these games. So I definitely get what you're saying, and I don't blame you at all. I think it's however the NFL worked and how much working they had to do with the networks and all that. I think a lot of it came down to they probably think that the brand, and it wouldn't surprise me if we maybe think this once we're about to hit the Monday night slate here in a moment. If they think, okay, the brand of Sunday Night Football, we put these games here, the brand will attract the people first. Whereas I think Thursday Night Football, it's we need the matchups first. You get what I'm trying to say? Like I think there's a level there where it's like they need the perception of the more even matchups to highlight Thursday night more as for the things that we talked about before. Because I think even some fans are still trying to get over the stigma, right? The stigmas last for a couple of years. And even though I think, again, I wouldn't surprise me if we look back to when we did this last year, the year before, as you mentioned, the NFL is trying to make Thursday night football more of a thing. I think they're really trying to break that this year, which is why I think they really hit home on like division matchups then versus they believe the brand of Sunday and Monday night football are going to attract the people. And if the games are great, that's, we hope, but I think that's what the mindset is. Or maybe they just, threw darts at a board. I don't know. Maybe we're just going to hey, we need the content to discuss. So before we get to the Monday night slate, actually, real quick, any last comments you wanted to make before we move on?
I think you covered it.
There we go. I'll shut up on this next one. I'll let you talk about these two games.
No.
So before we get to the Monday night slate, let's actually finish up the holidays to an extent. Let's talk about the Christmas Day games, Justin. It is 2 games scheduled at 1 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. Both games on Netflix. My oh my, how streaming services has come. Although Netflix is one of like the streaming services that is partnering with 2 others to make the new modern version of cable. That's an episode we need to record down the line of just trying to figure out what the heck is happening in the world now, because apparently cable is reviving itself, Justin, after all these years. Who would have thought that cable would win at the end? I think. At least I think that's what's happening. I don't know. I just know sports. That's all I know. So, speaking of which, sports, Justin, the Christmas Day games, the 1 p.m. slate, it is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the 4:30 game is the Baltimore Ravens versus Houston Texans. Boom, there's a playoff rematch right there from this past postseason. So I'm going to throw it to you, those 2 games. NFL obviously looked at the NBA Christmas stuff and be like, we'll take that. We'll take that novelty from you. And they put just 2 games for now. Fingers crossed that it remains 2 games. But they have just 2 games for the time being. So what are your thoughts on the NFL scheduling games on Christmas now? It looks like it's going to be a more consistent thing they really do going forward. And the actual 2 games that they've scheduled.
I like both of those games. I think it's a little weird, the Christmas aspect of it, because I don't know, it just feels like an NBA day to me, but I'm not complaining about more football. Like I said, I'll take it any day they want to give me. And it's the only thing that I would say is it's hard so late in the season to schedule what I assume are 3, if not 4 playoff teams on a Wednesday. That really shakes things up. They're both great games. I'm very excited to see the Ravens-Texans rematch. I think that's going to be very exciting for both sides. And we don't know what the Steelers team is going to be. They have a great defense every year. They're competitive in big games. This is an interesting one as well, because if Russ is anything, that's going to be a really good team. So both of those games are very exciting. And I'm just curious to see what the effects of a Wednesday game will have on a potential playoff team. You're muted, Jer.
There we go. Hopefully the scheduling around it is to a point where, these teams aren't absolutely having guys start to drop like flies, because for as much as I want to say, and for as much as I think a lot of people are going into the season hoping for one thing and one main thing, ladies and gentlemen, that's the Chiefs not win the Super Bowl again. I want someone to beat them at proper power. I don't want the Chiefs to limp into the postseason with Patrick Mahomes with one knee, having to deal with the family drama and Travis Kelce, barely being able to stand while he needs to be flown into that game with a private jet by his girlfriend. I would like the Chiefs to be at relatively full power when they're defeated, because it feels better to just beat a team when they're running. You don't want to give them the potential excuses because, come on now. When have the Kansas City Chiefs ever made excuses? Patrick Mahomes, Justin, have you ever seen Patrick Mahomes yell at officials?
Yes.
Yeah. So there we go. You don't want to give that was the point of the joke. It's like they will do that if they need to. You don't want to give them the chance for that. You want to beat them in a very clear, unequivocal way. Or maybe some people just want to see them get the absolute stuffing beat out of them. I'll accept either or at this point. Just so I can finally stop getting Chiefs Super Bowl picks wrongs, because good Lord, I've never gotten a single one correct, and I probably won't this time either. So let's go to the Monday Night Football matchups here. We'll run through the schedule real quick, and this one, let's go through. Let me just click confirm real quick. So for me, quickly eyeballing this, there are 2 weeks. Or is it more than 2? No, it is 2. 3 weeks. Excuse me. It took me a little bit. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe this is why I wore glasses growing up. We have 3 weeks in the season where we have multiple Monday Night Football games happening. So 2 Monday night doubleheaders, according to the schedule I'm reading. Then again, with how this site has been, maybe something's wrong here. But let's go. Week 1, first Monday Night Football game of the season. Jets at 49ers. So Aaron Rodgers against the 49ers, a tale as old as time. The week after that, you have the Battle of the Birds, the Falcons at Eagles, occurring there. The week after that is the first of the Monday Night Football doubleheaders occurring this season. You have the Jaguars at the Bills, and you have the Commanders at the Bengals. Week after that, okay, I definitely misread this. There are 2 Week 4 games according to this now. I definitely misread I just didn't read the number 4 twice there. Titans at Dolphins, okay, and Seahawks at Lions. I think we're starting to see something here. Week 5, Saints at Chiefs. Week 6, Bills at Jets. Boom, there's the big divisional matchup right there. Week 7, doubleheader, Ravens at Buccaneers and Chargers at Cardinals. That'll put butts in seats. Week 8, Giants at Steelers. Week 9, Buccaneers at Chiefs. Former Super Bowl matchup. Only one of the guys that actually played in that Super Bowl was still quarterbacking there. Week 10, Dolphins at Rams. Week 11, Texans at Cowboys. Okay, we're starting to get up to it. Week 12, Ravens at Chargers. Okay, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. Maybe Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh versus Harbaugh right there on Monday Night Football. Not a surprise. Browns at Broncos. Okay. And then the final Monday night. Wait, hold on. No. Bengals at Cowboys, Week 14. So there's that. And then the final Monday Night Football doubleheader of the season. Bears at Vikings and Falcons at Raiders. We're really reaching for that one. And then to finish it off, Week 16, Saints at Packers, and Week 17, Lions at 49ers. So, what did I say, Justin, about them hoping that the brand brings the people in some of those matchups? Look, obviously, I don't really want to criticize the Monday Night Football slate for various reasons. And in all seriousness, there are good games on there. I think, you have a very strong – just in terms of, I think anticipation, maybe it feels weird to say considering we have one of the season openers as well, but maybe the strongest early primetime game, just in terms of anticipation. You want to see Jets at 49ers just because you want to see and hope that the Jets have solved everything and Aaron Rodgers stayed healthy. That's the first big litmus test against that San Francisco 49ers team going up against them. Then after that, you have a game, Week 3, Jaguars at Bills. I know I kind of poke fun at some of the doubleheaders that there are, but Jaguars-Bills, that's a matchup. It's Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen. The Jaguars have upset the Bills in regular seasons past. So that's a game that honestly could mean a little bit of something for Buffalo there. There's a couple, I don't want to say straight out duds, but Titans and Dolphins isn't the strongest possible matchup there. Maybe you're hoping that Will Levis has had a game or something, or in that specific game he shows out. The Seahawks at Lions game, 2 teams, 2 years ago they were fighting for a wild card spot against each other. Last year it was the Lions making the postseason, the Seahawks falling just short on a season where there was expectations of them. So you have that. Bills at Jets in Week 6. I made note of it already, but you got the division matchups. The Ravens and the Chargers are both sprinkled in there a couple times, but obviously we know the big one for both those teams is going to be the Week 12 matchup where it's brother versus brother just before Thanksgiving. That's going to be a very interesting conversation at the dinner table with that one. You have a Super Bowl ring on one side, and you have a national championship ring on the other side, and I think Connor Stallions is going to be sitting next to Jim Harbaugh there for that Thanksgiving meetup. And then you have some games to end the season. It's kind of the best way I can describe it. You're really hoping that Lions and 49ers kind of highlights that last month and a half of Monday Night Football there. Because, Bengals at Cowboys could be solid. Could be a strong game. But Bears at Vikings, you're kind of hoping that the 2 rookie QBs at that point are, show some maybe a clash of rookies in the same division. There's some. I could look at some of these games and be like, okay, there's this reason that this game is there. There's a story behind this. But I mean, Justin, you give me your thoughts on the full slate as compared to now Thursday and Sunday night.
I like it. I do. There's a lot of good games here. I love Monday Night Football. I love the double headers. There's a few questions that I have in terms of games, like, because now that we've covered all of the primetime games, where's my primetime Kirk Cousins returns to Minnesota? Why is that a 1:00 game?
Right?
Why is Stephon Diggs playing the Bills a 1:00 game? Like, there's storylines here that I feel were missed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're trying to get the best games. I get that. But, like, there are games that were good matchups. Like, Vikings is a good matchup on paper.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a bad game. That's a draw game. Atlanta's a big market. Minnesota has been a good team. They will draw. Like, Houston, Buffalo. That'll draw. You know what I mean?
That I think is the biggest one, to your point. I think that's the biggest one that's a miss for not being a primetime game.
There's games that could have been played. I mean, did the Titans play the Ravens?
I didn't. Not on a primetime game. Not that I saw on the schedule.
Not a primetime game.
No.
But Derrick Henry playing against the Titans is a major thing. Like, and I get that you're not really trying to break it down to just one-on-one player versus franchise matchups. But I don't know. I just like the Jets. The Jets have how many primetime games? I don't really think they warranted that many primetime games. Like, I get it. New York's a big draw, and the NFL wants to capitalize on a big market. But it was hard to watch them last year.
Right.
If Aaron Rodgers goes down again, it's not like we have Tyrod Taylor coming in and lighting up the world here.
Right.
I mean, you're going to be in for another troubling 8 primetime games. Is that how many it is?
6. So at the bottom of this article, the one thing I think they actually got right is the fact that there are 3 teams tied for 6 primetime games. Like, they each have 6. So the Jets have 6, the Niners have 6, the Cowboys have 6. So all 3 of them are scheduled in for 6 total. Now, it's kind of intriguing, the math there, because they're facing each other. So these games, the Jets are facing both of them in various primetime matchups, but it all equals out. Each have 6, but the Jets are tied for the lead there, which is, once again, like, kind of what I was talking about. It's like you're really, if you're the NFL, banking on Aaron Rodgers to stay healthy this season.
And it didn't work out for him last year.
It did not. Fair. Didn't work out for them last year. Didn't work out with the year 1 of the Broncos Russell Wilson experiment, because, God, what was it again for them? Like 5 primetime games in the first 8-9 weeks of the season 2 years ago. Wow, I don't know. 2022 was tough. Like, in 2024, they need to hope. I really say that they need to hope that those, I don't know, those dolphin sonar waves and whatever else Aaron Rodgers has taken in terms of medical herbs is gotten that Achilles all good and strong, because if he goes down again, and I'm not wishing for it, because, like, look, as much as I might make jokes about Aaron Rodgers to you and Rick, which I don't really get that much pushback from either of you, like, as much as it's easy to joke about Aaron Rodgers, he still should be, we assume, an excellent quarterback, at least in terms of his IQ, his ability to read the field, stuff like that. Now, what his level of play will be, that's a legitimate question to ask. But the things that could make him great still, like, he has. We're not foolish, but yeah, it's tough. It's very tough to say the least. And yeah, no, I don't blame you at all, because it's difficult to. It's difficult. Like, I don't like the idea of just banking on luck of everything. I know it's football, so maybe at the end of the day, a lot of this does go down to it, but there's a lot of luck involved with some of these games, like a lot. And like you said, I think you said the 2 big ones, like Bills. How is Bills Texans not a primetime matchup?
Yeah, like, that's a great matchup to begin with.
Yeah. Stroud and Josh Allen already. Like, you can no longer make the excuse that the quarterback matchup isn't there, because CJ Stroud just was amazing last year. They went. Well, they both got eliminated in the same round. But they had a closer game. Well, actually, no, I think it was probably this. Irregardless, like, there's just no reason that shouldn't have been one of the primetime games set. Like, it's Again, I don't think disappointing is the right word, but like you said, there's misses. There's clear misses. If we go over, like you said, Ravens, Titans, like how give Derrick Henry that revenge game for himself is just. I'm not a fan of it, man. Look, I know we have the revenge game in Broncos Raiders, and Jarrett Stidham is potentially going to go off if he gets to play, but that's not enough for the people. We need more.
Not a real revenge game.
I know. I
mean, like. That's not a thing. That's not what it is, though.
I know. I gotta have some fun with it as we're having these discussions. But no, there's definitely missed potential here in a couple instances, to say the very least. And the missed potential doesn't stop there in terms of some of these matchups. We're about to get into that here in a moment. But any last thoughts you have, Justin, on Monday Night Football, comparing Monday Night Football to the other two, or just like the primetime games as of now, before we get to the international games?
Yeah, if we could, let's move it up a few months.
if only, because we are waiting for this next NFL season, to say the least. It is a long wait. All right. Let us go to the international games here. We have 5 international games for 2024 in 3 different countries. And that matchup will begin, the first one happening in week 1, finishing up in week 10 is the final international matchup with, you guessed it, I know people wouldn't be able to figure it out, London in between. But week 1 from Sao Paulo, Brazil, it will be the Green Bay Packers going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in September 6th. That game is going to be on Peacock and NFL Plus, according to what I'm seeing here. This is NFL.com. I'm reading this off, by the way. So if any of this is wrong, that's wrong on their site. But it's Peacock and NFL Plus is what this game will be on. So it should be very interesting. Reading just some of the description for this game here real quick, at least just the first little paragraph on it. Week 1 matchup between these two teams will not only mark the first Friday night game of the opening weekend in over 50 years, but will also bring the international games to a new continent in South America, as it, of course, as I said, Sao Paulo, Brazil. So these two teams will be facing off against one another in Brazil to open Friday nights. And open football. So, Justin, what do you think of the Packers-Eagles matchup in Brazil and the quality of game that they're getting, which I gotta say, pretty good.
I am very intrigued by this game, not only because of the matchup, but because of the stakes that are there. These are 2 NFC teams that are going to be vying for a playoff spot late in the year. And not only is Philadelphia giving up home field advantage in this situation, but both teams are taking a real interesting start to the season by playing so far away, and there's no chance they have a bye week 2. They are going to have to tough it out and come in to the next one. And I don't know if you know, but teams with teams coming off an international game, they don't have a great record. Jet lag is a real thing, and it affects these guys. Now, I know that the time zones might be similar, which may help them a little bit. There's no coming back and then having to reset your sleep schedule, but this is a major game, and for it to be played week 1 on another continent is an interesting game. It's going to be interesting to see how that the travel affects these guys and the outcome and how it affects early goings in this season.
Yeah, and I will say we should give the NFL a slight bit of credit, because I think they also did their best to try to mitigate the week 2 game for both of these teams, as with this happening on Friday, September 6th. The Packers' next game will be a 1 o'clock matchup on Sunday, so the 15th against the Colts. And then for the Eagles, that will actually be, I guess you could consider the Friday night game their first primetime game. It'll be back-to-back primetime games for Philly to start the season, as they then get Monday Night Football. So definitely fortune favors the Eagles there in terms of just that little extra day that they get after this one, to say the very least. No, I'm with you. It's, for both these teams to mutually agree to start the season so far from home, and really kind of out of the elements, especially I think for Green Bay, because it doesn't matter what month of the year it is, aside from June, July, and August. Green Bay's cold. So you're getting the exact opposite happening there in Brazil. And then for Philip, it's so interesting. I haven't read anything about the arena that they're necessarily going to be in. I'm not going to try to pronounce this arena, because that would just be disrespectful for me to just completely butcher the pronunciation. But I mean, you just hope that when it comes to whenever, as the NFL is going to new countries now, which can't wait for the game in Antarctica in a couple of years. They're trying to make it the best possible situation and scenario there to have a good football field, right? I'm relatively confident. South America, they have their national grass fields. I'm sure this arena, hopefully, it is good grass that these guys can play on, and it's just a quality game. Like that. I think the thing for this game, aside from the matchup to look at, is just like the quality of the field and everything that's meant to basically surrounding it in that regard. But high hopes, of course. It's going to be the second game of the season, the Friday night game. Of course, the season starting the night before with the Ravens and Chiefs. So should be two very good games to start the NFL season as a whole. So props to you, NFL. All right, move on. The hat trick of London games, weeks 5, 6, and 7, Justin, are as follows. In week 5, in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which let me just confirm. So the first two games are Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and the last one is in Wembley. Week 5, you have the Jets versus Vikings happening there, October 6th, a 9:30 a.m. slated start. The week after that, 9:30 a.m. slated start in week 6, you have the Jaguars versus Bears, the first of the Jaguars back-to-back games, because yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, 2 Jaguars games in London. Week 7, 9:30 a.m. on my birthday, we have the Patriots against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Wembley. So it's going to be yet another time of back-to-back London. Hold on. The Jaguars. I'm reading the Patriot little paragraph under the Patriots-Jags game. The Jaguars will once again be double dipping in the international games, extending their visit in London to play back-to-back games for a second straight year. Jacksonville became the first team to do so last season and won both contests, so now they'll be doing that once again this year, as they have the Bears the week before that and the Patriots the week after. So that trio of games in London, Justin, what do you think about the quality? You have Jets and Vikings. I said Jets there. Jets, Vikings, Jaguars, Bears, and Patriots Jaguars there.
I selfishly love these London games because I don't mind waking up a little early to watch some extra football. I think it's fantastic to wake up and it's on all day. Fantastic. That being said, the quality of the games is lacking. I mean, the best game there I would probably say is Jacksonville, Chicago, just because both teams have a chance to take a major step forward this year. Hopefully the quarterback is solid for both franchises at that point, but I gotta say, it's not like they did London any favors here.
Right. And so I think I want to ask this question first before I lead into the last game here. So the question I want to ask Justin, and kind of what we were talking about with the Thursday night games, international games. Like we've heard from past players, Pat McAfee himself has said it on his show before, that not like a lot of guys aren't the biggest fans of these international games, right? Because like as you mentioned with the Brazil game, but especially is going to be the case with these 3 London games and this game in Germany that we're about to dive into, and what this matchup is, this barn burn of a game right here. It's this messes guys schedules, time zones, how early they need to get there, when are they going to be able to get back, and then prep for the next game, how many days off are they going to get, hopefully. If I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know if any of these teams are going to get lucky in terms of having a bye week after this, or what the case is. I don't know if any of them necessarily are, because I don't know how often that happens where a team gets a bye after a London game. I don't think it does too many times. And like you said, the schedule post international games for these teams, it can be kind of rough. So I think it's from a player's thing, but I feel like I've seen some fans have their thoughts about it. What do you think just about the international games itself? Like, are you, obviously we know selfishly, like, the 3 of us, I think we could both speak for it. We just like football, and, football in other countries is cool. Like it just genuinely is. But what do you think? Like, is the NFL with some of this, are they starting to go too far, do you think, with some of the international games, or what is your thoughts on the discourse?
I understand. I mean, I'm an East Coast guy, so 9:30 is early, but it's not like super early for a weekend. Like, if you're 5 hours behind in California, like you're not waking up, or however many hours it is, you're not waking up at like 5 a.m. to get ready to watch a football game. You know what I mean?
And if you are, props to you.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's just a tough thing. So I get the discourse, and it's not like the product has been stellar. I mean, we've had some good games, but mostly because they were kind of sloppier games, not because they were like well executed games. So I could see how people are upset with the product, especially with the time that it's on. But the NFL's got to expand. This is a market where they need to expand it.
So that leads to the last game happening in Munich, Germany on November 10th, 9:30 a.m. start once again. New York Giants versus the Carolina Panthers. Now, Justin, I'm a big history fan, right? So to confirm this, I did the search once again because I just wanted to make sure I'm reading this live off of the search as I'm looking. So Germany finished paying off the loan debts and war reparations to World War I on October 3rd, 2010. And I'm here to tell you all that we need to revise our history books because clearly, this is war reparations that Germany has to pay for right here because this is New York Giants versus Carolina Panthers. And what did that country do to deserve this matchup? I'm sorry. I know we tried to be nice earlier when it came to the Giants and Cowboys matchup, and we don't know what's going to happen, this, that, and the third. But really, NFL, you gave them Giants, Panthers. You gave them Daniel Jones. Best case scenario for Giants QB, by the way. Worst case is shooter sleeve Drew Lock. Actually, no, maybe that is. I should flip that.
We can debate it another time, but you're right to question it.
It's Daniel Jones, and look, Bryce Young, we hope the best for you. This podcast wants you to succeed. Two of us picked you to win the division in your rookie year, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
This is the matchup you give to Germany? This is the matchup?
They figured they got Tom Brady the last time, like or 2 times ago. Like you gotta take a dip now because
dip.
Yeah,
this is more than a dip.
This is gonna be rough for them. It is.
Oh God, this is like just learning to swim one week, and then the next week you win like a prize to go in a submarine and go like 5,000 feet down the water. Hopefully, it's an actually properly made submarine, but unlike what some people try to do. But irregardless, just Jesus Christ, like my God, it's just not. It's just not. I'm sorry, it's just not like, in any way, shape, or form. Germany, I'm sorry. I guess your war reparations were not paid off at all because clearly this is that. This
we don't need to get in touch with this right now.
we probably don't. But I'm just saying there are several jokes that could be made in regards to this. But I'll be nice and I will abstain from making them. Brian Burns' revenge game? Question mark. I guess is what we could call this. I mean, I don't know. I mean, would it shock you if Brian Burns got 3 sacks in this game? Probably not.
I would assume that's his goal,
right?
I mean, I guess it's his goal every game, but I guess maybe there's a little more
incentive
on this one.
Yep. Just I think the funnier actually reality, I'm not saying this to be mean to the Giants, wouldn't it be funnier if the Panthers win this game and then we have a counter for the rest of the season if they're still really bad? Like how many games did the Panthers win internationally versus how many domestic games they win?
How many international games do they have?
No, just this one. But wouldn't it be funny if the Panthers win this game and then lose the rest? You won one game and it was not even on American soil.
Didn't we have that issue with the Jaguars at one point where they won like their London game and then they just like
lost
everything most of the games? Like they didn't win a game on American soil for like the first like 8 weeks or something like that.
Something like that.
Am I making that up?
No, I don't think you are. I'm pretty sure it's very accurate.
Yeah.
So it could be a similar situation here. Poor Carolina, poor New York, poor Germany. They deserve better. I'm sticking up for the German fans. I'm sticking up for the German football fans out there. Come on now. That is a country of sports excellence. That is a country of sports excellence right there. You know, come on now.
It's rough.
Dirk Nowitzki, right? Dirk Nowitzki, Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel. Champions have come out of Germany, and then they have to watch this shit. This is ridiculous. That was just my excuse to honestly name 2 F1 drivers on, to be fully honest with you, on the show. All right, so now we're done with the football, Justin. We're going to talk the Monaco Grand Prix. No, in all seriousness, that is the international slate of games. But the NFL, oh no, I don't even think they could fit a football stadium anywhere in Monaco. And if they tried to, that would be the most expensive stadium food of all time. But in all seriousness, that is the international slate of games, to say the very least, Justin. What would you give an overall rating to this slate of games as a whole?
I would say that this slate of games is a slate of NFL games that will be played internationally.
So, barely passing.
Yeah, look, I'll watch them. I'm excited to watch them. And look, maybe they'll have some interesting consequences and things like that because they are middle of the road games, middle of the season games for teams that will be vying for every win they could get. but I'm not really expecting much. Low expectations sometimes yields better results.
Yeah, and look, every single year, low expectations. There's always a team that we don't think a lot of, and they surprise us. That was the Seahawks 2 years ago for us. I'm trying to think last year, who would it have been? I think I had picked the Browns to make the postseason, but I know you guys, there was definitely plenty. Right? Did I pick the Browns to make the postseason last year? I don't remember at this point. But basically, like it could be a very interesting NFL season to say the very least, in terms of teams that with low expectations could surprise us. And it all begins with the schedule release. We're not going to go through all 32 teams' schedules to say the very least. We do not have enough time in any day to really do that. But it'll be very intriguing. And we're going to bring scheduling and all that back up in the division previews in a couple months from now, because as we did last year, we like going through the division previews, going through the team schedules, kind of just referencing things and things, because the teams they face each other, they face two divisions, and then they face their other various scattered games. So it's going to be interesting to see that, and I'm sure these games will come up that we've mentioned throughout this course, and how important it will be for these teams in their respective 2024 campaigns. And speaking of 2024 campaigns, Justin, that wraps up all the conversation of the primetime games. That wraps up the Thanksgiving games, the Christmas games, and the international games. I think we've just about hit on every single thing so far. Justin, any last comments from you before we finish this one off?
Let's go Jets.
With
they have a lot of miles to travel this year. We'll see how it affects them, but
are they? I could have sworn, I think it was one of you guys that sent this in the chat. Are the Jets the team that are traveling the most miles this season?
No. I think they're top 5 though.
So that'll be next episode. No, but in all seriousness, this is going to be a very interesting season to say the very least. And what it'll all come up to, well, we'll preview that in a short while. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that finishes off this edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. We're always missing 1/3 of the show whenever 1/3 of us cannot make it. So unfortunately, the Podfather unable to make it to this episode. Feel better from your two boys to you, Rick. Feel better. Hope that you heal very quickly. I make it sound like he has a terminal illness. I think he'll be fine. but ultimately, the Podfather missed out this time. Hopefully, he will be ready in some way, shape, or form, even with at least some pre-recorded content for the next episode of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast, coming to you hopefully later this week, probably at a later time. When that'll be, you'll see. I'm pretty confident that it'll be in relative short order. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again for joining us on this edition of Fun, Football, and Chaos. And we'll see you guys next time with more NFL discussion as we trudge further away from the offseason and closer to the next NFL regular season as Justin tries to finish the story. We'll see you guys next time.